Okay, the revolts that occurred within Judea. Their religion is very strict. You can't say, well, you can't do that anymore to them because that is not only a lifestyle, this is their lives here. Now, they were, if you look into the Bible and you look at all of the things that occurred with them within that, they were in trouble for not doing things the right way. But they still continued to do what was considered wrong according to the Bible during those times. So it says they're a hard-hearted and stiff-necked people because of this. But so they keep some of it. It's not like they ever abandon their religion. Even if they're in trouble for it, they have certain traditions within that they keep. And if you're realistically looking at this thing, you have God, and then you have these traditions. So when they're just doing what they consider to be the right way of doing stuff based upon people instead of God, they still do those things, and that's part of their religion, even if it has nothing to do with God. Then you have when they're doing the right thing, when it has to do with God, according to that. And those things are rules that they follow. Those things on the other side are rules that they follow. So they follow these rules, and there's, in their mind, there's no breaking away, whether it's tradition or whether this actually has to do with God himself. So either way. So if this was during a time when they were actually, according to the Bible, in trouble for doing the wrong thing, there's still, it's not like they ever abandoned their religion, even though their religion may have tradition within it. It's kind of like, well, I'm not going to get into the Roman Empire because, well, let's just, you put your own stamp on stuff, after time. And this is what the Romans did with what actually ended up becoming Christianity even now. It's still influenced by what the Romans turned it into, because their beliefs are not the same. They put more of, because they don't agree with stuff that's so easy to do. Like, you have to work for something. And that was what they put into religion. So even though that they say that, for example, they say that if you believe in Jesus Christ, you go to heaven just by believing. But then with the Romans, no, you have to do more. You have to pray for that. You have to mean it all completely. It has to be like some magic spell you're cast. So they make everything more difficult. They turn church more into school. Instead of some guy telling you this is how you should do things, it becomes more of like a tradition. It becomes a more like with rules around it. That's how the Romans changed it, and that continued on into the Eastern Roman Empire. The civilizations which branched off to that. And that's basically what formed the mentality of the English Empire, is all like this, like we're Roman, it's this Romanized way of thinking through that, and also into the Spanish Empire where they took the religion even into darker realms. So there's a whole lot of religion that has to do with where it was channeled. Like the Romans, they changed the Greek religion. They just borrowed religions and changed them to what they thought. But there's no way they were just going to go along with the easy way of stuff. That's not how the Romans looked at stuff at all. They were the ones who were like, if you're acting like a child, grow up. Like, they didn't say it that. I'm sure they didn't have that saying. Maybe they did, I don't know. But they didn't like the way a child thinks, because they were more like grown up in their minds. So that's where a lot of the way that we think comes from the Romans. Don't delude yourself that's not the case, because it is. Because a lot of our modern society was molded through the Romans, because the people who continued underneath the Romans and after the Roman Empire had fallen apart, a lot of them looked back to what they, and especially when there was like the resurfacing of that. And so a lot of what a civilization was defined by Rome. And within the sphere of what you would consider Western civilization, as a matter of fact, people think, well, the Greeks, if you were to say the Greeks affected civilization, our civilization is a lot more molded by the Romans than the Greeks. Theirs was molded by the Greeks, but they didn't have the same mentality. But the way the 80s were having fun and stuff like that, that's more like of a Greek time period. And the 90s being more towards serious stuff. and then into 2000, that would be more like the Roman way of things, because the Greeks were more like just trying to have fun and be creative. The Romans were more like proving yourself and like being tough. Just a mindset towards success, and also having like a blueprint based upon your civilization, so you're kind of stuck in that. That's kind of like philosophy. Let's get back to the Seleucid Empire. They covered that large land area, and this is from the Mediterranean all the way as far as they can get towards India. There was a lot of tribes around that area which were making raids, and you're just not going to be able to keep this thing together for such a long period of time. And it was pretty remarkable that they were able to keep this area that they had, which changed, of course, throughout time, but to actually control this region for such a long time, because it was really, there wasn't a whole lot to work with based upon the circumstances. Like I said, if you had like a levy army, their weapons were kept within the armory. So now all of a sudden you gotta go fight somebody for them, and they're giving you weapons now. But there's the special forces within the army. And these are just like the nobles, whoever has their own weapons and armor because they're trustworthy to have it. So you have these types. Now, as the Macedonians were fighting Greeks, the Macedonians started to find weaknesses where they can be a little bit more superior to the Greeks. And they're fighting hoplite. So you have hoplite warfare. What can I do that's different that might be superior? And there was actually, because, within the Greeks, this is tradition. We fight like this. But then some of them just start jumping up over the shield and trying to take their spear and thrust it over the shield and down into the guy. So this became an actual thing. Yeah, I killed some. Yeah, you see him jump over, I'm going to do that. Sometimes it worked. So actually, Macedonian hoplites started doing this regularly. Jumping up over the guy's shield and stabbing him in the face with a spear. This became a way of actually attacking somebody within that hoplite warfare. So, when you have the high pacifists. So this is like the Greek phalanx. The standard phalanx with guys that jump up over a guy's shield and stab him in the head with spears in the face. Try to get that guy's face. Because of the very little exposure in the enemy phalanx. They just found a better way that they thought was a better way of doing this. Jumping over the guy's shield and stabbing him in the face. We already have a cheat as far as our cavalry attacking, which we don't even know. Because after the battle, you're thinking we did just as much. And then they start thinking,
we can just win it with infantry.
We got just heavy pikes, because they were winning battles like that. So they thought, we can just win it with our infantry. They forgot that it was the companion cavalry and this giant mass of cavalry just cutting through the enemy, where they can go anywhere and they can threaten everything. They were killing enemy generals all the time, and that effectively ended the battle a lot of times. So this is a little bit like what actually occurs oftentimes, when things are forgotten. They were doing it. There was a better way of doing it at that time. Why didn't they just stick with that? So you're relying on the heavy pike infantry, and you have foreign peoples learning this. So you're teaching them how to fight. Teaching these levies how to fight. You're not letting them keep the weapons, of course, but you're teaching them how to fight so that when you get into battle, they can have a pike phalanx go into the battle. So what's the biggest weakness to a pike phalanx? Is being attacked from different directions where it just crumbles. And the biggest weakness for the pike phalanx is missile attacks. If you had a pike phalanx, and it doesn't matter with the pikes that are stretching overhead, because they don't deflect a whole lot of the missile bombardment. So you can actually destroy those with missile forces. The problem is that nobody was actually thinking of the best way to do things. They were more stuck in, this is what we have available, this is what we're going to use. So you didn't have like a mass of archers just to take down those pike phalanxes. So you couldn't just mobilize troops that you don't have. You just use what you have. And this is basically a more disorganized program of combining troops into an army, because you're just picking what you have. Okay, you guys, we have this here. You're good at doing that. You guys go do this. And then you have the nobles who have their own weapons and armor, which are mostly Greeks or Macedonians, and they have their own stuff that they take out into the battle, and they're proud of. Look at me, how cool I look. You know? Thorakitai. Okay, so basically, this is like the Roman way of fighting. You have a larger shield, and you have some guy behind it. Now, this is not the Roman way of fighting. It's the copy, and it's not a good copy. And then you have the Argyrospies. Now, they use the same type of method that you would see with the Hypaspis, of that jumping over and trying to hit somebody over their shield. That actually, when they were fighting an enemy hoplite, which was becoming less and less anyway, because a lot of places weren't even using the hoplite anymore. Starting to become obsolete. Thorakitai, which was a copy of the Roman type of warrior, these would be more similar to the Roman warriors before you had the one that would become the prototype, because their way of thinking was different. I might as well just tell you. Okay, the Romans, they had the same thing that Greece had, where you had brilliant people minds coming into a city. You know, in Greece was because there was more freedom. Now it's like they're drawn to, because there's a lot of things about Rome that were just attractive. So you have great minds within the Roman Empire that were thinking, and this is even when they were under the control of the Etruscans. Even when the Etruscans had control over Rome, the city, you still had people coming in with brilliant minds, because Rome was already attractive, even at that point. And you know, some people coming into the port, which was controlled by the city of Rome, and they liked the city, and they liked where its location and the things about it, and it became attractive. So these people had great minds within Rome. Okay, one thing that they came up with in Rome was war in a way where we win. I mean, it's like we win just even before the battle. What's the easiest way? You know, like just thinking about these ways of winning. And they came up with the idea of having a giant shield. So you basically have a wall that you're moving behind. And you have a shorter sword, which these swords were being used in Spain by these really cool-looking type of soldiers that were awesome. They were badass. That's where the gladius came from. They would pass the sword down to their son, and then their armor, and their shield to their sons. They used to hold these festivals, these fire festivals, and they had all these beliefs that were tied to legends that they had, that actually, they must have had so many things that were larger than life that they had within. They have somewhat of a civilization, because all these people come together to these festivals, you know, so they all have these relations. There's still a lot more like Thrace, I would say, where you have villages that were all part of the same thing. Anyway, they would leave these to their sons, Spain, these badass weapons and armor to their sons. They were like the elite units. So Carthaginians, who had a huge interest in what was called Iberia, this is before Spain, they had such a huge interest in that place. But it's forces like that, you don't want to take those on. So then the Romans, they have their own gladiuses, right? So we'll have, basically the whole idea is you have a very mobile person hiding behind a wall, coming out and stabbing you with a small. It's like if you had a guy with a knife behind a wall, and you're trying to get him, and he's got a wall, and he's hiding behind it. So he comes out of the wall real quick, stabs you real quick, goes back behind you, try to hit him with your spear, he's behind that wall. So that's the whole idea, is you got a guy hiding behind a wall. So when your spear tries to hit him, you got this wall going over it. And that's why the Romans, the armor they wear is the way it is, because you have that giant wall in front of you. Just come out with that. So you're very mobile. You come out real quick, stab them, you can go back behind the wall. Of course, some soldiers in the army stick to that plan. Some want to get fancy, use their shield to hit somebody with, spin around, and fight like Titus Pullo. A big case. You know, be like, I'm sure you got guys like Titus Pullo. Titus Pullo, huh?
Yeah, good man he is.
But you have to follow the rules in Rome. You know, where you get whipped, they'll do worse than that. Somebody breaking the rules and not following what everybody else, not conforming to the rules. They're very strict on that. So the Thorakite, trying that, it's not going to be anywhere near as effective. They have their own javelins, which they keep within the shield. They pull them out and they throw them, so they're in like a pocket within the shield, right? Any sort of pocket that you can make to keep javelins. Pull them out and throw them before the battle. That's very effective. Javelins are a huge weapon back then. They do so much damage because one javelin, you just get so messed up from a javelin going through you, okay? And it can mess your whole shield up. It can mess your whole day up. End your day right there, and everything. So these guys don't quite have the Roman method, because you're not hiding behind a wall. Your shield's bigger, yeah, but it's not big enough, so you don't actually have a wall. So imagine if a guy had a smaller circular wall in front of him. You still have exposure. Now, because of the way that the Roman shields were built, when they had this big square that circled inward, they had those big, it's like they made a wall perfect for this guy. Then you have those other shields. It's not going to work the same way at all, and that whole method doesn't work the same. So what you can do is you can just move those smaller shields yourself, pull them in you, just stab them in the neck. Or if you're like phalanx warfare, they still have to try to get you, you know. And then they have to get past those pikes. What the Romans used to do is they used to go underneath their wall, get within those pikes, and then cut them when they get inside them. So unless you have a giant, massive, heavy cavalry, because they're not going to be able to do nothing within that, because they're all going to crash into each other. And that's just a huge catastrophe. When you have all of your soldiers smashing into each other, that hurts bad, especially when they're hurting you with their own weapons. The amount of damage that's caused by it. So that's how the Romans were able to win, is because nobody actually did that to them. And that's what Alexander loved to do. He loved to get into the battle. He loved to smash into the enemy. And he would have did that all over the place on the Romans. They would be getting in those smashing into each other and crushed into one another. And then imagine what the pike phalanx can do to the people that get smashed down. If they're so immobile that they can't move backwards at all, because there's guys that are like right down in front of them, they're not going to just let that guy stay there. That's at their feet. So they got to have some sort of commands that you can, like, if you could say one word, and it means for everybody to reverse so that they can get more space between them and the guys that made it up towards them. But since they didn't have a heavy cavalry, which the whole point of the pike phalanx was actually just supposed to hold the enemy. So yeah, make them have to fight their way up into those pikes. It was all just to hold the enemy. That was the main purpose. And then people started using them as a weapon themselves instead of using the heavy cavalry. So instead of holding the enemy, now you're using it as an offensive weapon, which doesn't work as good. So that's when people say, well, the weakness of the phalanx was this. Well, that weakness is supposed to be covered. There's not supposed to be flanks exposed. There's supposed to be units around that, keeping it so that there is no exposed flanks. And there's supposed to be the cavalry that's used in addition to that. Okay, so in Seleucid territory, you have different types of individual units within what's available to that territory. So when you're raising an army based upon what has to be done, because if you have uprisings, and this is your area, you have to draw from what you have available based upon who lives there. And this is what they want to be. So if they wanted to be a Peltist, if they wanted to be a Thorakite, or if they were Hypaspis, there's also initiations that go into these things, and they're bringing in their religious traditions into this, and they're adding different traditions to this thing. So if you want to be part of these like a secret society, we're part of this. They feel badass. They're like they have their own jackets. They don't have jackets. I'm just thinking, imagine if some guys in the 50s had their own leather jackets with their names and their gate on it. We're tough. They're the Thorakite, or they're the Hypaspis. And I said the Thorakite were supposed to be able to use that skirmishing warfare And when you're just softening up the enemy, you're not gaining an advantage when the enemy's softening you up. So that's really the type of warfare that's going on at the time. Is people are just doing the same thing to each other, and then whoever wins, wins. Unless you can find some sort of an exploit during the war, during the course of battle. They don't have a plan to win the battle before it even occurs. So, the type of soldiers, you know, like the Persians, they had this type of infantry that they had these wicker shields that were huge shields. You know, kind of like that wall. They had that. They could actually stand those up in front of them while they attacked with a missile weapon, so they could hide behind a shield that's just standing there, and whenever they would need it, they just pick it up again. So they would stand behind these shields, and then they could like use a bow or something, or a javelin, while they're behind those shields, these wicker shields, these giant wicker shields. So these are the type of people that are now within the Seleucid army. And it's basically, okay, you guys can have it. It's like at the end of the school year when your teacher used to take your toys away from you. And a lot of these, over the generations, they never see weapons get around the army, except for training, you know. So they train some of them because you have to have, you might just train them all of a sudden because you need these guys. And you're like, okay, what the heck are we supposed to do? So if the Greek forces or the Macedonian forces, or Macedonian forces, however you want to say it, if they fail and they're destroyed and you're just left with these guys, they're going to leave. And maybe we can go back now and these guys are gone, now we can, let's party time. But of course, if they all kick out the rest of the people you don't want there too, then you just have a big party. Now we're gonna try to align ourselves with these other ones that are breaking off, and we're gonna ally ourselves together. And then then this the guy who's trying to keep this whole thing together. So anyway, they couldn't stop this from happening in Judea because they didn't understand this religion is a huge thing to them, where it's their lives. This isn't a part of their lives; it's their lives. So they would rather be dead than that. So he's messing with Judea, and they're just not going to just take that. And they're saying, you're going to serve our gods. You're going to follow our beliefs and our practices, which we made up. Okay? You guys are you're going to believe in Hercules. Because nobody, when they're a kid, doesn't think that life in itself is weird. Because it is weird. So it's not. And you go, well, there's scientific explanations. When you're a little kid, you see it clearly. Life is not normal. This is what we do. You live and die. It's normal when you've done it long enough because you become used to it. So when they're just starting off populating the Earth, they don't have like the scientific explanation that's taught to them. And they look at things pretty clearly. You can see this is weird that we're even here. What is this thing? Life. You become used to it over time, and people talk to you. This is the reason. But of course you're going to try to figure that out, because this is weird. It's not normal. When you need a man and a woman to produce a child, you have a story for that. So obviously that was created, and you're not going to think, well, a comet created that, or something that occurred along the lines of nature created so that a man and a woman and a child comes out of that. Because that's a story. And stories are created by people. They're created by minds. They're not created by... And plus, nature doesn't care. So, like, our chances of actually having kids come out without mutations, because nature doesn't care. I mean, we should have a lot more problems if it's nature than we should have a lot more problems, because there's no... It's not set. It doesn't have to be a certain. It can be as cruel as it wants to be. So, like, maybe, having to eat and everything kind of working together and being where there's these rules of reality, but they're not anywhere near as harsh if it was nature that created it, or, like, if it was left to the winds of nature. Because if you've seen a volcanic eruption, that's nature, what we consider nature. So, so if that was creating stuff like that, it doesn't care. So nature can be extremely harsh. So, and then people, they're having sex and they're thinking, well, I want to fly. Because I'm pretty sure a lot of people, I want to fly and see what's in outer space. So maybe enough generations and my kid is actually capable of space travel. And then once they get out there and they're reproducing after they've made it so that they can survive in outer space, they're going to want to be able to actually be able to communicate in outer space, to talk, to breathe in outer space, just to provide the things that they need through reproduction, right? So they were all in the mindset that, hey, this has pretty much been figured out. You have Hercules and all these guys, you know. This is how it happened. That's why we are the way we are. Then you have the way that under the nation of what is considered the nation of Israel, when you really look and you go like, what is this actually? What am I talking about here? Because the basic principle of this whole thing is if you're playing the video game like Civilization, right? And this is how we're going to run our civilization. And we're going to start like this. Theirs was created, this is somebody who's divine telling them, this is how you're going to do things. Because this is how it all works. He wasn't saying, well, go kill people and go kill people here and you go kill people there. Like, for that, there's like that the price of blood is life. That blood is a life. You don't take that from people. But he's not going to interfere to where he's going to bring his hand down. He's keeping the rules that we have of reality set. So this is like if somebody just doesn't move for things because he's, okay, say if you were completely perfect and you don't let your emotions get the best of you. And maybe the better way is for this story to progress in this way instead of something, because imagine how that would change history. So you guys do it this way. You got to kill everybody from them, because those kids are going to, the ones that survive are going to have, they're going to remember this. They're going to be a thorn in your side later on. You can say like a baby that's born, right, into the civilization. If the baby survived, well, if you didn't kill the babies, because you could say that the ladies, when they get older, because it's like what you have the problem now in the Seleucid Empire, is because those that know that this was not, that they're like, they're kind of like pets being trapped in a cage by somebody else, and they want to break out. So when they get older and they figure it out, and that this happened to them, and somebody tells them the story, and you can see how people hate people that we consider Jews nowadays, and a lot of hatred that came against them based on the stuff that occurred in history. Basically, this whole thing of religion changing towards the way that the Hellenistic civilizations believe, which they believe, a lot of them actually believe this with all their heart. They probably believe. They're trying to tell them, you know, these stories, and you can imagine the debates going on, and things like that nature. And then the Jews, hey, this was like, I mean, like, you had all this stuff that's going on here. And if you ever notice with them, when stuff happened, that where magic was involved, things like that, it was stuff that could still be explained as within the realm of reality somehow. And I mean, there's always like this certain level of breaking the rules of reality. Like if they were following, their God would be perfect, so he doesn't actually interfere to such a level where it drastically changes history. Where, I mean, if you actually knew, wait a minute, because people would be trying to get that type of magic. They would be trying to do everything they can to have it. So then all the civilizations, and what would that do with history? It would ruin it. Because history is such a story and so fascinating and awesome. So it's like a perfect story even in itself. And that would have changed it. That would make a huge change. Because people would, they all knew for sure, they would all try to grasp onto that as much as possible. If they was like, oh, for sure, I'll forget it. I'm in that. I want the things to be that way.
Without life being so fragile, there isn't. There's no movie, there's no driving force, everything is just stagnated. It's this fragility of life which makes it so exciting. If you were to imagine long enough, say that you saw a monster right now, something that's way out of the ordinary. It's because of the rules of reality that makes that so exciting. If this became commonplace, it wouldn't matter. So you can see the perfection in reality. So as far as somebody perfect telling you this is what you should do, that means, okay, that's the way. And eventually you would find that out, that that's the way to do things, because you have to keep the rules of reality in place. But some people confuse the fact that if you are having divine guidance telling you exactly what you need to do, and this is how you need to do things, it doesn't mean that he's telling them to go and kill people on a regular basis when he's saying not to kill people. But this is what you have to do to build the civilization. So you have two different things. So it's common sense. Don't kill people. But right now we're building the civilization kind of like if you have to fight for something because of the reasoning behind it. And he could have fought them himself, or he could have made them so that they were friendly, but then that would have changed the story. So you have to have evil in it. So killing is evil, and it's not the right thing to do, but it's necessary to have evil and to have these things, because then you can have a story, and then you can have stuff like that. Without a story, there's nothing. It's all stagnated. It's not exciting. There's no excitement.
Okay, anyway, so yeah. So with their mindset, they're just not going to change, conform to the Hellenistic stories. And you know, this is what they've been taught. So after a long time, imagine if you were taught these things, you're thinking and believing in, and even though that they don't really see it actually working, and that's what a lot of the philosophers use to back up their opinions. But they weren't messing with like the nation of Israel. This type of stuff that goes in there. And you can say, well, now it's this and that. What it all is the seed of Abraham. And what did they consider to be that? So at this point, this is that religious society that's all falling off of that. They're still part of that story. So the whole point is that theirs doesn't allow them to change. So that was a huge problem. Antiochus issued his decrees forbidding Jewish religious practice. If you were like a Hellenist, let's say that you were a Jew who tried to adopt these Hellenistic practices, your own people are going to kill you, even though during this point you're being punished, because this would not even be going on if you weren't doing something wrong, because they were the power until they did something wrong. According to the Bible, they had the power. So that power was no longer working for them, and so even though that they're being forced into this from something that they did wrong, and they're trying to be right with it, and then they have all this stuff going on. So let's say that there's a Jew who actually tries to make a sacrifice to one of the Greek gods. That guy, kill him! You know, that's how they look at it. So they're going to go crazy. They're going to go balls out in guerrilla warfare, and that's exactly what they did. So they're going to destroy these altars and statues and everything. They're going to just go completely all out with it. And you're busy trying to run your empire, and you got this going on, and they thought they were just going to get the Jews to fall in line. Instead, you have this guerrilla tactics going on, and the Jews fighting for freedom wherever there's trouble. They hold on to these things for dear life. Okay, and they get really pissed when you start messing with them. And the Hellenization just was not ever going to happen there. They'd rather die. That's their lives. It's not just a part of their lives. It's everything. Even though they still do the wrong thing, and that happens often with them. They forget what they're supposed to be doing, and then they're just following traditions instead of doing what they're told to do. So this is even within the Bible, but within that. So, and if they were the ultimate power still at this point, or even, I mean, how does that affect the story of world history? So many things to it. You know, the whole thing is that you have a perfect world history. It wouldn't have been, I mean, imagine if nothing happened for such a long time. Of course, you had the Dark Ages. You could say nothing happened during that time. But even in that time, there's stories within that. And that changed things a lot. It's kind of like you always had a reset when somebody had too much power in history. There's always a reset, keeping everything interesting. So you have a great civilization that's controlling, like they're about to, then it changes. this changing. So it's always keeping itself interesting and refreshing itself. Back to the Seleucids. So this is kind of trying to rule with a heavy hand, but he's just, they're going to do it. I got to deal with this over here, being aggravated by all these things, because you're trying to get it. It's like if you were trying to rebuild the Roman Empire, and get back over there. It's probably like when you're playing a video game and you're mad at the game. No! Where you throw the controller down, you start cussing the game out. Cheating! And then if they, succeed, cheating! Fuck this game, Alright, let's get back down to the Seleucid Empire. And Seleucid politics are based, of course, upon popularity with the army, so that you have, because right now you have to have a lot of people who are capable of settling business on your account. And then all of those, of course, are supposedly under the leader of the civilization, but they may not all have loyalties to that, and they're just looking for their own little place within that. And everybody probably finds their own little place in that. So if you're involved in something like trade, you can be distracted by that, or if you're involved in this going on or that, you're going to be more distracted by that during these times. Just imagine who you are back then, based upon what's going on in the world around you. Okay, so you may hear about a war going on, but you're basically going to be most concerned with first of all, your life, your family, as in anywhere. And then you have your mind set to whatever politics. So you might decide to you might be extreme on it in politics for a political point. And you have the extremists trying to move whatever political point of view they have. One of those gray area people, it'd be great, but, or the extremists trying to make that happen. All the changing powers going on, and the points of view, and the popularity contests. So you don't have like any purges really going on. Then that until there's a problem, and then they kill all the people involved in it as a message. Next thing you know, you're being trained to go to warfare. So right now, with your political point of view, whatever it may be, when you're called into this battle, how much are you actually going to be involved in it? Mentally, I mean, how much expenditure do you have into this thing? You might be looking for your own opportunity within it, but the Seleucid armies, as far as being so strongly united, so then imagine facing the Romans, who are a lot like Americans this is us. This is for everything, to have this patriotic stance on it, when there's not really a patriotic stance, like, yes, the Seleucids. So when you're facing one of these armies, you can hold it pretty easily. Kill their generals, then the rest of them just go home. He might be a real popular guy, but once he's dead, now some jerk might take his place. Maybe let's just take his place instead.
Let's go back and see what the scenario is.
I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. There's not a lot of organization outside of what you have within your own territory that's been established that could change from time to time. We want our old traditions back. Somebody teaching that. Now these would probably be people that would try to shut up, and the guy who's in charge, how much his idea is towards that, how much of his attention is diverted towards that situation, and we'll kill him, and some sort of policing into it to make sure that they put that to an end, so that this doesn't cause more problems within their empire. Just keep this thing together. Let's pick some of these guys, and I want them in charge, and I want this guy in charge, and change all the governors to people who you know are completely with your way of thinking. And so then underneath them, and the people under that, how they would look at it. The new rising power of the Mediterranean, the Roman Republic. So at the battles of Thermopylae and Magnesia, retreat from Anatolia and never again attempt to expand Seleucid territory west of the Taurus Mountains. They actually tried to fight with Rome. They got their asses kicked. Yeah, a Roman legion can take on some cavalry, but if you had like 5,000 cavalry and just smashed them into the backs of Romans, they're gonna get their asses kicked. That's what they should have done if they wanted to win, but you didn't think about doing that. Because only the snobs get to have horses that are all fancy. And they had a lot of different levels of armory upon their horses for Seleucid. They had great cavalry units, but they didn't have like a mass of this. They had a whole bunch of them. They let some of these other guys in there, and they just made a giant mass of cavalry. I'm just saying that's the only way they would have had a chance, except for using war elephants, which the Romans could find their ways to counteract those. A lot of different methods were used. Traps. They tried to create traps to kill them. You could kill them with your javelins. The Romans launched those. Pilums from behind their shield wall. You're not going to fight an elephant behind your shield, but the Romans are so mobile that they, or if you rolled the Roman lines by bringing the elephants behind them when they're already engaged, they're just going to say, oh shit. Once they get hit, they're going to fly. That's how you use cavalry. Attack them when they're busy doing something else. You want to hold them and get them smashed from behind. That's not how they fought the Romans. They tried to fight them toe-to-toe, the same way that the Romans would fight. But they didn't use even cheats. Because those are the way you cheat, is when they're engaged with somebody, and then you bring cavalry smashing into the back. That's the best way to win any battle. But they didn't do that. You might keep some units back there, but just one unit or something. We'll just smash that to pieces and then we'll charge them. Keep some. I mean, there's certain ways of doing things, like when they're trying to skirmish, and if you're sending your cavalry to kill their skirmishers, and you're throwing their army this way, or if you're just, like, trying to fight like how everybody else fights. So that's the difference between the Alexander style and just fighting the way everyone else fights. That's why these guys aren't winning, like, outright every battle and having such success where they're undefeated, like being an undefeated champion of war. The Romans are winning, though, because they're using the hide behind the wall tactic. Come out and stab you from behind these mobile walls. So there's just too much within the Seleucid Empire, and it falls apart.